Once again, I am so happy to be here. This is the Lauren Ballard Show. Thank you so much for joining. We do this every single Wednesday, 2:15-ish. It's 2:28. And so we are here once again. I just realized that I have not gone live right now for my TikTok community. So I'm getting them set up. Hello, hello, hello. If you are new here, my name is Lauren Ballard. I'm a CPA, and we have these conversations every single week. I'm here to answer your questions about tax strategy, finance, accounting, all the things. And we always do a little bit of teaching, a little bit of education, so that you will leave this conversation more prepared and equipped than you came. So that is the goal of all of this. That is the goal of all of this. So if you have any questions, as always, you can email me. I'm going to, the email is showing across the screen. You can email me. So if you have any questions, please do not hesitate to reach out. So I'm just getting situated here, but today I actually don't have any news. We will have a news update next week. So I wanted to make sure that I had enough time to get into the teaching. I wanted to make sure that I had enough time to get into the teaching, because what we're going to cover today is really, really important. If you don't know, as an accountant, we have, especially if you are a tax advisor, we have two kind of Super Bowls. We've got one in the spring that everybody knows about in April. That's the tax filing deadline. But our next one is going to be December 31st. And the season kicks off September 1, and that is tax planning season. So we're going to be spending the last 4 or 5 months of the year just focusing on helping our clients get positioned in a way that's going to help them lower their tax bill as much as possible. And so we are super, super excited about that. But it's about to get hectic. And so I want to talk about why I think that September and through the end of the year is probably the most important time for you if you are looking to position yourself, to put yourself in a better position financially in 2027. I have been changing some things in terms of my practice. So I was thinking that, the product that we have to sell is tax advisory. The product that I have to sell is helping you save money on taxes. But I realized that that is so short-sighted. What my clients need, people just like you need, is to understand, what is my purpose? What am I trying to accomplish with my life? And based on the answer to that question, everything else should come into play. And so the topic for us today is why tax planning season is the catalyst for an impactful 2027. Why tax planning season is the catalyst for an impactful 2027. So when I'm starting to work with clients, I am getting them used to the idea that every single thing that we do should be rooted in our identity and what we believe that we were created to accomplish in this life. Everything that we do has to be rooted in that. Because if we think that our identity is to amass as much money as possible, we're going to pursue money. But I submit to you that every single one of us our purpose is to serve other people. And if we can understand that that is our identity, we then start to now reverse engineer and figure out what is the unique way that I am called to serve other people. And so the very first thing that we have to do is ask ourselves a series of questions. A series of questions, and I'm going to pull my questions up here. We can run through this list, because if we don't understand what is our purpose, what are we actually trying to accomplish, who are we called to serve, every other decision that we make becomes skewed and aligned in the wrong direction. So the questions in order to be able to identify impact, we've got to answer these questions. Who am I called to serve? What problem am I equipped to help solve? What responsibility or burden can I not ignore? So one thing for me, I am passionate about people reaching their fullest potential. And in my space as a tax professional, the question that I have is, how can I help you reach your fullest potential? What do I have in my hand? If there's something that I can say, if there's a way that I can explain something, if I can get you to understand a concept that you didn't understand before when it comes to your money, the objective is that you leave me more equipped than you started. That is the responsibility or the burden that I cannot ignore. Every single one of us has something similar, whether it's, I want to pour into youth sports, or I'm really passionate about helping beautify my community. I'm really passionate about literacy. I'm really passionate about healthy eating. Whatever that looks like, every single one of us has something that tugs on our hearts. And I submit to you that the purpose of you achieving this level of success in your business, the purpose of you achieving the level of success that you have in your career, wasn't just so that you could acquire and accumulate a whole lot of stuff. It was so that you can serve and show up and meet the needs that have been placed on your heart. Now, I want to be clear, purpose does not mean quitting your job, or it doesn't mean starting a business or closing the business that you already have. It can involve raising children, serving in your faith community, supporting family, creating something, entering ministry, whatever that looks like. Whatever that looks like, it can be any of that. But what I want you to just grasp onto is that we've got to start there. And so why am I saying that tax planning season is the catalyst for impact? Well, we're going to get there. We're going to get there. And by the end of this, I promise that you will understand how tax planning directly supports your purpose. But before we get there, we've got to understand, what is our purpose? What were you called to do? What were you called to create? Who were you called to be? Once you have identified your purpose, you then need to identify and start to understand, what does said purpose require? What does it require? So, for example, one of the things that I believe my purpose is to take care of my daughter. I want her to grow up to be well-adjusted. I want her to be friendly. I want her to be happy. I want her to be whole. I want her to be healthy. I want her to be all of those things. And I believe that as a mom, that is part of my purpose. One of the things that I was placed here on this earth to do was to be her mom. And she was placed here on this earth to be my daughter, but that's a whole different thing. But because she was placed on the earth to be my daughter, and I was placed on the earth to be her mom, that's a part of my identity, a part of what I was created to do. I now have to understand, what are the investments? What are the resources? What are the requirements of that purpose? So for me, it's time. Every parent knows that you got to invest time. It's also money. Every parent knows that part of what I have to invest in fulfilling the purpose of raising her well is money. I need to train her. I need to provide food for her. All of these things, right? And every single purpose, whether it's being a parent or starting a business or being a content creator, whatever that is, all of those things have an investment. And so the second piece of purpose is identifying what does that purpose require? What is the time commitment? What is the monetary commitment? What is the energy commitment? Because if we understand this, we're getting to how tax planning, I promise you, we're getting to how this all relates. But I'm spending a lot of time here because I believe that the conversations we are having about money are starting and ending with money. And that is not the most important thing in life. It can't be. It can't be. And so because we're starting from the wrong place, we're making decisions from the wrong foundation. And I want that to stop today. So we've identified our purpose. I've given you some questions, some very pointed questions that you can ask yourself to start identifying purpose. Once we've identified or started the process of identifying purpose, we are now understanding and starting to peel back the onion layer and understand what is required for me to accomplish and achieve purpose. Now that we've had those two things, now this is where the money talk get into it. We get into the money talk. You've got to audit your finances. You've got to audit your finances. You've got to understand, do my finances support the purpose that I've just identified? Because if the purpose that I've identified is that I am to be a parent and I want to be the primary caretaker for my child, well, my finances come into play. My finances come into play because I need to understand, do I need to get a different job? Do I need to charge more in my business? Do I need to bring on investors or business partners? What do I need to do? Do I need to hire? All of those things become the decision. They are a downstream decision of purpose. Again, I believe we are making decisions too far down the chain because we're not starting with the why. We're not starting with what are we actually trying to accomplish. We're starting with, does this make me money? Yes or no? And if that is the sum of our lives, we will come to the end of our lives realizing that that is very, very empty. That cannot be all. So we've got to start from a higher level. And once we've started from a higher level, then we're starting to ask these questions. And our finances, we can look at our finances. Have we been stewarding our finances? Have we been addressing and handling our finances in a way that supports purpose? So when I say audit your finances, I want you to ask questions of yourself, like, how much does my life currently require each month? Which obligations do I have that are currently limiting my choices? How much runway do I have? And when I say runway, I'm talking about how much cash reserve do I have to be able to do the things that I want to do, to be able to make a change and do the things that I feel called to do. Where is my money currently going that doesn't reflect my values or my purpose? So let me give you an example. I have a bad addiction. Not all the time. Not all the time. But sometimes I like to play a little game. I like to play a little game on my phone. And I'm not too ashamed, I'm not too proud to admit that I have spent money buying little gadgets or coins for my little games. But if I say that I value stewardship, if I say that I value education, if I say that I value service to my clients and to the people around me, my family, my friends, if I say all of those things and I'm spending, this is not the case, but let's just say I'm spending $100, $200, $500 a month on gains. Is that in alignment? But let's take this to a bigger level. Let's say that I say I value being there for my kids, but I have a business that has required me to work 80 hours a week. That is out of alignment. That is out of alignment. And so I may be getting a financial return from that time, but it's not nearly what I would like it to be for everything that I have to give up. And so if that's the case, then I need to start looking at some other things. Maybe I need to hire differently. Maybe I need to look at some tax strategy to lower my tax burden. Do you see why this can't just be a conversation that starts and ends with money? Finances are never a money conversation. They are a heart conversation. They are a priorities conversation. They are a purpose conversation. It is a money conversation is never a money conversation. So after I've audited my finances and I identify the inconsistencies, the things that are not supporting me getting to the next level. This is where tax planning comes in. Because I believe that tax savings is not just about paying less money to the government. Tax savings is about freeing up capital, freeing up resources, freeing up money so that you can reinvest it into you. And you reinvest it into you reinvest it into your family so that you can accomplish the things that you have set out to accomplish. So if you started the year and you have been kind of going with the flow and you go through these 4 steps that we've just identified, that you identify what your purpose is, you identify what your purpose requires, you take an audit of your finances to see where it aligns with purpose and where it doesn't. You now can go through the process of working with a tax preparer, a CPA, a tax strategist to come up with a tax plan. And that tax plan is going to identify opportunities. It may help you address. So if you audit your finances and you're like, hey, I end up spending 40 to 50%, paying 40% to 50% of my income to the government in taxes. I need to change that. And I need to change that because, well, now we're having a real conversation. I hope that this makes sense. I hope that, and I'm looking at my folks here on TikTok, but I hope that this is also making sense for my folks who are watching on YouTube or are watching on LinkedIn. If this is making sense, making sense, please put a 1 in the chat. Put a 1 in the chat for my folks on TikTok. Put a 1 in the chat if you are following that purpose. Every financial decision that we make starts from the heart. It starts from intention. And without clearly defining intention, we start making financial decisions that sound right, but are actually out of alignment. So that is the teaching for today. I want to just let you know that tax planning season begins September 1st. If you can understand how all of this relates, you will clearly see that you can use this for a catalyst to make 2027 the most impactful year that you have ever had, because now you are intentionally reinvesting in yourself, reinvesting in your family, so that you can accomplish everything that you were created to accomplish. So before we end the stream, I want to see if there's any questions. I want to see if there are any questions. Let me check the comments here. Any questions? All right. Well, if there are no questions, thank you so much for joining. I so appreciate you. Leave a comment, whether you're on LinkedIn or YouTube, and let me know where you're viewing from. If you're on TikTok, please let me know where you're viewing from. I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to hear from you. But if there's no other questions or no questions for today, that is everything in terms of the live. And we will be back next week. I do want to let you know that September 9th, we will not be meeting. We will not have, the show will not be happening on September 9th, but we will be meeting next week. So until then, I hope that you, I wanted to get my music. I hope that you have an amazing rest of day.